So the universe or life or however you want to label that, it'll test us to see if we've actually learned the lessons that we think that we've learned. Everything in life that's uncomfortable is really either teaching us something or testing us. So recently, I found myself in two completely different situations with two completely different groups of people. And both times was uncomfortable, but the core of what was happening in these interactions was basically the same. And that was, how far inside my boundaries am I willing to allow these people to walk? And so in one situation, it turns out that I had to reassess the line that I'd drawn in that particular sandbox. And in doing so, I found that the lines that I'd drawn were a little too rigid, so I relaxed them. I moved them back. In the other situation, I realized that the hard lines that I'd drawn in that particular sandbox were reasonable, and they were part of my commitment to myself, which is genuine love and self-care. So as politely as I could in that second instance, I maintained my boundaries and, didn't let that person convince me to do something that I didn't want to do. So the first time, in the first instance, those people were happy because they believed that they were going to benefit from my decision to relax my boundaries. But in the second instance, well, that was a whole different story because that person was not happy with me that I was not relaxing my boundaries and determined to manipulate me into um, acquiescing to what they wanted. Now, in the moment, I recognized that wow, these are manipulation tactics. The syrupy manipulation that lots of people like to use. They smile at you and pretend they're being nice and empathetic and whatever, but they're really not. They're just being extremely manipulative. So it was a good sign that I recognized that in the moment. And and the other good thing was I didn't react in the way that I normally would have for the previous, I don't even know, 50 years, like of becoming defensive and argumentative. I didn't do that, which was a good sign that, wow, I did resolve those mind files and I'm no longer triggered by that. And I have moved up the emotional filter frequency scale. So that was good. So over the last few years, I mean, I've come up against some pretty good master manipulators, and let me tell you, I did not do nearly as well. Um, so it was something to be proud of. Now, here at Penny's Mind Files Method this week, the theme is how to recognize love files. And so these recent interactions that I had, um, are a good example of how every experience that's uncomfortable is either going to add a high frequency filter into that mind file or a low frequency filter. So in my case, I added a high frequency filter because I honored my commitment to myself. And the more I honor commitments to myself, the more I'm going to honor commitments to others because I won't feel like I'm sacrificing anything. The more, because you can't give away what you don't have, right? So when you honor yourself, and the more you do that, you know that you're not going to compromise or sacrifice yourself for others. And then therefore, when you make commitments to others, you're more willing to keep them because you know you're not going to um, put yourself, put them above you. So in that instance, I added both a reason filter, which is above neutral, right? Because I reviewed and I reassessed both interactions immediately after the experience, right? I determined if I was acting from a wounded lens or an informed lens. So in the first instance, I was absolutely acting from a wounded lens. And so I relaxed my boundaries. I realized, no, this is a wounded, I'm being triggered from an old wound. Let's deal with that old wound. And so I relaxed my boundaries. In the second instance, though, I was reacting from a learned frame of reference. And I don't know about you, but all my lessons were hard lessons because I'm stubborn. And some of the life lessons that I learned took years for me to learn. So, anyways, the 2 points that I want to make here are: one, it is important to reassess every uncomfortable interaction before creating a new mind file or adding an emotional filter to that file. And two, it's equally important to congratulate yourself when you've held your ground and when you've honored a commitment to self care.